It's almost embarrassing that they brought up that specific lyric.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now.
I never had a real day job. Never saw the charming people eating my soul.
Charlie, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. We're days away of the new album coming out. And just to kind of get going with that, if we look back real quick, 2 years ago, you basically released a very different album, and then that was followed by all tours canceled and all the stuff that we all know about. Now you're coming back to a more familiar sound. Is this album not just a new album, but almost like a reset, a feeling of coming home a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, both yes and no. We had an idea about going like almost like progressive, you know, but then we started writing songs, and it seemed like the music wanted otherwise. So we just, you know, we had this idea where we just followed the music, you know, wherever that want to take us. And so it turned out, I would say that in the beginning we thought that, okay, this might be a back to basics album, but I think it's like, instead of jumping backwards, it was like a shoot hell forward. It's not really, I mean, there's always new songs and stuff, but I think there's a lot of things going on this record that are not going on the older records that are more of this rock, basic, classic rock sound. Yeah, I would say, but it's for others to judge, I think.
You guys are a band that are clearly influenced by the heyday of classic rock in the 70s. When we listen to you guys play, not just on this album, but on other albums as well, you know, people will hear elements from the Eagles, from the Outlaws, from Neil Young, from, as a Canadian, April Wine. Well, I'm not really Canadian, but I live in Canada. April Wine, and also like BTO. You know, like we hear those things come out, but then you're also talking about like, hey, we wanted to make a bare bones record looking ahead. Sometimes for bands, it can be challenging to remain or have a renewed freshness or a relevance in their music when they are so clearly inspired by all these greats. So when you say like we follow the music, is that then something you still have to keep an eye open for, that the music isn't too nostalgic, that it's not too much of a callback? Like, is that something that's on your mind when you're writing?
Yeah, I mean, it's you may want to you may have an idea what kind of songs you want to make, but then it's like when you feel like it's kind of hard to write that kind of songs, or when it's like this big, it's like a big fence ahead. It's like, and okay, so that song was much easier to write. Maybe that's the kind of songs that we want to write, you know, right now at the moment. And also, I mean, of course, with all those bands you mentioned, we love very much, but there's also like very different influences that none have ever heard.
Feels like I still be sitting here 800 years from now, wondering where all my friends went.
As you're talking about like these known and unknown influences on your sound, and like some of these classics, just as to pause for a second, and you know, in the last 15 years from Sweden, we've seen all these bands come out with a significant love for retro Americana, whether it's heavy rock or whether it's folk music. You know, we've seen Witchcraft, we've seen Ghost as well, Blue Spills, Lucifer, First Aid Kit. What is it with Swedes and Americana music these days?
I don't know. I think it's just, I mean, Sweden is a very Americanized country in our culture. I mean, I guess the whole Western world is kind of Americanized. But I mean, especially I heard this report once that, or I read an article that whenever American brands are going to try a new product, you know, to get like, will this work on the American market? If it's like a new soda or a jeans brand or anything, they try it very often in Sweden.
Okay.
Because if it works in Sweden, it works in the States. I don't know. Just, I mean, all the American movies, American music, and you know, the culture, you know, comics, cartoons, everything, television series. I guess we're, and we also. I think it's like with America, it's like kind of the opposite of Sweden. I think it's like everything is. I mean, in Sweden we have this thing that you shouldn't exaggerate stuff, and I mean, shouldn't go. You could go big, but not too big, because we're trying to be like modest and stuff. But America is like just too much of everything, and I think that's what a lot of Swedes like, sort of like and hate about America as well.
Yeah.
What was the thing we get in older wise? I would rather stay young and dumb. Explaining
I think personally, I mean, all those bands you mentioned, I think they're really good, but I don't really see us in the context of those bands.
Right. It's not a scene or anything like that.
No, because I mean, a lot of those retro bands, maybe others than the ones you mentioned as well, it's like just retro for me. It's just
Right.
like they use all the cow skins on the drums, and they try to, if possible, they want to record everything on an analog, like a tape recorder, and you know, it should be done. It's like all these rules that was set up. It wasn't set up in the 70s. It's just like some people think that's the way, that's the best way to do it, and
Right.
I'm not sure. You know, you have to embrace some technology. I think it's really great, like the opportunities that you have now when you can record like a symphony orchestra if you want on like 100 channels.
For sure.
Doesn't mean that the music will get any better, but it's like the possibility.
explain again so I will get it this time. I would rather stay young.
This, you know, dual feeling, if you will, of like, you know, oh, you know, in Sweden we both love and hate America. When we then go into your music, and not just the music but also the lyrical themes that we see, there's like a duality there as well, because there's always, you know, the core of your music, at least for me, seems to be, you know, pretty fun, upbeat rock, but then especially when we go into the lyrics, there's always an element of, I don't know if sadness is too harsh of a word, but definitely a melancholia.
Some darkness.
Exactly. I mean, on the new album, I think Red Number 1, Old White Men are songs where that really comes out. Is given that you're nodding your head, it's not just me seeing ghosts and projecting my own sadness onto your music, but there's an element of truth to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I write all the lyrics, and it's not like an intentional thing. I've been trying to write just really happy lyrics, you know, so many times, but it always ends up with like, you know, like, I mean, you could describe the scene with like a sunset, all your friends around or whatever, and then it's like, who's that guy in that dark suit standing there? You know, it's just something that I don't know where it comes from, but it's I think it's also our lyrics are kind of, they have like a really dark humor to it. It can be kind of funny in a dark way, but
Right.
and in a true way. I don't know. It's just I'm a pretty. I can be really depressed. I have been depressed. I even like had help for it and stuff. But I'm also, I can also be a very like happy, outgoing person. So I guess it reflects. I'm just trying to be myself.
Drunk as a sailor as he came from the cold, who let this guy
With what you just say, do I interpret correctly that one of the standout tracks on the new album, the Uninvited Guest, is the uninvited guest and the host of the party are one and the same person, and it might be biographical, sorry.
Yeah, that's it's almost it's almost embarrassing that they brought up that specific lyric, because I really like the lyrics. I think it's the lyrics that I'm most proud of on the album.
Yeah.
It's the last song on the album, but it's at the same time it's the only song on the album, and I think the only song that I ever written that I don't know exactly what it is about, you know.
Okay. Interesting.
I had this feeling. Most songs had been written before the pandemic. And
Right.
started recording during the pandemic, but this one, the lyric I wrote during the pandemic. First, like, okay, am I trying to think about, like, is it this plague thing that is the uninvited guest, or is it a guy that, you know, all of a sudden he's happy, everything is going as planned for him, and you know he realized that he has cancer or something. I don't know. It's,
yeah.
But I think it's back to that little disturbing element. I mean, you're at the party with your friends, and in comes this weird, dirty, drunk guy that kind of ruins everything.
we all become what we fear the most.
Maybe I'll know within a year what it is
Okay.
about, but
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
We'll check in a year from now then to see if you got some clarity as you play
Yeah,
these songs more and more as you go on the road. And maybe you know, talking about going on the road, for a lot of people that are going to see you play in the near future, it'll be the first time several people see you play since 2 albums were released, and they were
Yeah.
very different albums. So if you're already thinking about what, you know, shows are going to look like, given how these albums were quite different, but you kind of, do you want to promote both these albums? Is the emphasis going to be more on the new album, or it's almost, you know, 16 years of the band? Is there just too many old songs that you have to play to commemorate that? Like, what's the planning right now?
Yeah, we have this release party show coming up in Stockholm this Friday, and when we rehearsed in our studio last week, and we sat and wrote down like a kind of a set list that it's always changes right before the show anyway, but and it was kind of like always, it's like, we always be playing songs from every album, you know. We're kind of proud of all our albums, and you know, the last album kind of divided our fans in half. Some of them loved it, thought it was the best we've ever done, but many people hated it as well. It's like, no, this is not Hellsingland Underground. So it's like, it's okay, you know. I kind of enjoy that, like reading people's comments, and some were almost aggressive about it.
And I'm still struggling here to get along, painting pictures.
We're really proud of that album, and we're gonna play some songs from that, but we'll see how it develops. I mean, since we haven't played the songs from the last album that much, we did a few shows. We did a Swedish tour for a week this summer. We had some like safe pandemic shows last summer as well, so we haven't really played them that much. So I guess we'll see which one will stand the test of time.
Talking about standing the test of time and the how long this band has been around, you know, a musician once told me that, you know, if you if you get old enough, you eventually end up playing the blues, something that you guys have actually always embraced. But talking about getting a little older, the 20th anniversary is creeping closer and closer. Is that something that is already on your mind and you want to celebrate that in a special way? Or in the beginning of this interview, we're like, you know what, we just want to look ahead and be relevant. So like, what's that for you?
Yeah, I just read that today somewhere in some review or something for the new album. There was like their 20-year anniversary is coming up. It's like, what, really? And so, yeah, we haven't really thought about it. I don't know how we will feel about it then, but I don't think we will go out and just play the first album or something that. I don't think so. I can't see us do that because, I mean, if we were called Guns N' Roses and our first album was called Appetite for Destruction, it would be another thing. But you know, it wasn't that successful. So, but it's still a good album. I think it's. I think the new one and the first one. If I had to choose what albums are like, where I like every song on the album, there might be better songs on different albums, but there's always one song or two that we didn't really get it where we wanted to. So no, we'll see. You know, ask me in a few years.
I have to check in with you in a year from now to figure out what the hell the Uninvited Guest was all about. Yeah. And then in a few years, we'll check in again to see what is really being planned for a 20th anniversary. But before we do that, we can enjoy the new album coming out when we're talking, just a few days from when we're talking. Yeah. And so, Charlie, I want to say thank you for your time today and answering some of my questions. And I hope you can, to the fullest, enjoy this release cycle and the release show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.